begins my healing era officially. Um, so I kind of wanted to record this video as a way to narrate through all the different types of footage that I have of me entering my healing era, accepting my healing era, and then like fully embracing my healing era, which I feel like are definitively the three stages that I truly went throughout these last several months, right? I had some fun times, some sad times, some sad thoughts most of the time, actually, which is kind of hard to believe because an average person, would look at my life, read my story, and think, there's nothing to be sad about, there's nothing to be anxious about or depressed about, but that simply just isn't true. And it isn't true for me, and it's not true for, well, a lot of people, to be honest. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about being in my healing era, my healing journey, is because I worked so hard to be in a better place, and now that I am, I want other people to know that they can get to this place too, right? I want them to keep up the hope in the same way that I had to keep up the hope when I was going through really tough times emotionally and mentally. And so, to kind of set the stage, at the beginning of all this, which is basically when I was just down and out, spiraling every other month, every other week, having breakdowns. And breakdowns for me are serious because I'm usually a very focused, level-headed person. So to be having breakdowns as often as I was, where it was just so like stressful and scary, and like I didn't know how I was gonna fix the problem I was in. I didn't know how I was gonna fix the things that I was having to deal with at that time. It was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. It was very difficult, and I remember having lots of feelings of loneliness, feeling alone, feeling isolated, and I think that is a core like insecurity for me, like a childhood insecurity of like, I'm scared of being abandoned, I'm scared of being alone, I don't want to be alone. And so when my brain gets into that state, that's one of the first things that gets attacked, is my friendships and relationships. And so I remember just high feelings of loneliness. I remember a lot of darkness as well. And initially, the darkness came from being in an apartment where I could not regulate the temperature. I didn't have access to like the thermostat or whatever, and my apartment was like an ADU attached to a house. And so the people in the house had access to the thermostat. I didn't really even go in the house to begin with. So that was really difficult because at first I kept it dark when I moved in the summertime, because just trying to keep it not too hot, trying to keep it cool in my apartment. And then that transitioned to it being winter, and then the sun was going away much earlier than I was used to, and then it just got dark really fast, and in my apartment, I mean. And I think that didn't help my mental health either, because it just kind of felt more like just, I don't know, just like dark and like sad, and there wasn't a lot of natural lighting either, so it was like I had to choose a lot of times between having lighting in like one corner, like I literally only had lighting or like windows in the corners of my apartment, and even then the light didn't really reach. But then even then I didn't really want to open the windows. I didn't want to open the blinds because like safety and security reasons. And I didn't want to let the light in because like it would get hot really fast. So, but then in the winter, that transitioned into getting cold. It got super, super freezing in that apartment. It was crazy how cold it got. Like, it was like an ice box. Okay. And I was like, I have never lived anywhere where it would get that cold. It was a very interesting time in my life. It was just very hard living in that apartment, and it was my first time living in a studio like 100% by myself. And so it was fun, it was great, but just the apartment didn't lend itself for me to be able to have a good and healthy relationship with my emotions and with my mind, and with, those recurring thoughts and recurring insecurities and things like that. It is now empty. The place I lived for a whole year, it is completely, well, I have some graduation stuff hanging up here, but bathroom is pretty much, the kitchen is still a work in progress, but a lot of it is just gone. Crazy. In the drawer. What about the Zevo, the bug light thing?
Is that yours?
Yeah, I bought it.
Oh, yeah.
So it really took me coming back home to realize that a lot of my old familiar coping mechanisms and habits just weren't helping me anymore. They were actually holding me back from progressing and becoming the person that I really, really wanted to be. Held me back from the friendships and the relationships that I needed and wanted at that time, because again, insecurity of loneliness was like flaring. And so it almost felt like, and this is like another layer to it all, was I had moved out not just because I wanted to move out. I had moved out for a specific reason, and that was grad school. And grad school was a lot of fun. It was amazing, wonderful. I had so many great moments. I made so many friendships and relationships and met so many interesting people that I probably would have never met otherwise. And I'm so grateful that I got to go on a scholarship. I didn't have to go into debt. I didn't have to take out loans for anything really. And that's just such a rare experience these days. So I'm eternally grateful for that. And I didn't want to say but I will say, and I felt like I had prioritized my education and my professional advancement over and over and over again. I had prioritized it over friendships, relationships, social outings, social events, over all the other aspects of my life. And I think that realization was hitting me. It was hitting me hard, because I'm just at a certain stage in life where I'm like, that's what you really need. Like, you start realizing I don't need friends. I need a community, right? I don't need acquaintances. I need support.
About certain situations are driving me crazy at the time. But all in all, I appreciate it. All of your guys' support has led me to this moment. So, this degree is not just for me, but it shows the support that I have behind me, because I wouldn't have been able to get through it without all of you guys behind me. So thank you so much. I love you guys, and I hope you enjoy the dessert that is hopefully coming soon. So thank you.
I need a support system. And when you get to that stage in life, it's like you want to be able to be in a place where you can start building and investing into those relationships, and like almost like securing them, right? Because I think when you reach your 20s and your 30s, that's when you start to kind of solidify the friends and the relationships and the community and the support that you'll have going into the rest of your life, pretty much. And so I guess I was starting to feel a certain type of pressure to like get that figured out, and I had felt just so behind. And I grew up with strict parents, and not that they were strict like mean, but they were strict just like extremely protective. And so that kind of adds another layer to it, where it's like I feel like I grew up super sheltered, but I also feel like I grew up super protected, where I did not have to suffer through certain experiences or certain things that my my peers and my classmates and my other friends just, had to deal with and cope with. Like, I have no experience with just a lot of those hardships and struggles because I was never exposed to them. In a weird way, also still isolating, because it's like, doesn't that mean you have less people to relate to you? You have less people who really understand and get where you're coming from, what your experiences were like, why you do the things you do, why you do them in the way that you do them. But on the flip side, I feel like it puts me in a unique position where I can help people, and I can, create safe spaces, and I can work to empathize with people and understand them in those ways. And I think it forces me to stretch a little bit more, right? It's easy to be friends with someone who you share all of the same experiences with, or you grew up together and you did everything together growing up and you still are that way, right? It's super, super easy to have that kind of friendship. And I call that like friendships of convenience, where you grew up together, you went to school together, you went to college together, and that is what kind of holds the two of you together. But I think it's more interesting when you create friends that are just completely unlike you, or grew up completely differently, or have different thoughts and opinions and perspectives, and they force you to not adjust or change how you feel, but they just force you to see things a little bit differently. And I think I enjoy that challenge, and I think everyone should have those kinds of friends in their life. And I feel like those were the kinds of friends that I was making in this time period, right? I felt lonely, and I think that opened my heart up more to people that maybe normally I wouldn't have been friends with, or I wouldn't have been able to be close with, or I wouldn't have had the heart and the grace and the compassion to empathize with them and their experiences and still support them through it, regardless of how I felt about it, or how they decided to handle their situations. That leads me to some other pieces of advice. Was, even with all that being said, you should still be careful about who you befriend, because you don't want it to be someone that is bringing you down or tearing you down or manipulating you, right? You want to choose people who have traits and characteristics that you aspire to also have. And that's one thing for me, is like, I always want to be in a room with people that I feel like I can learn something from. And although we may have different upbringings, experiences, identities, even, if you will, I still should be able to learn from you. I think that's one of my top qualities that I love having in a friend, is that I can learn something from them, and that I can see myself growing in new ways by being a friend to them.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear David. Happy birthday.
Thanks, guys.
And I think that's the thing, is that, at the beginning of grad school, I did feel some kind of stagnation, right? I felt like I wasn't growing. I felt like I was procrastinating so much on everything, on, social things. School, definitely procrastinating on school assignments and tests and studying and quizzes and stuff like that. And so that runs together, right? If you have a habit of procrastination, it is going to impact every area of your life, not just one. And that's what I found. It was impacting everything, and it almost felt like it was spreading, right? And that was really scary, because another connection to, I guess, another insecurity thing is that, like, I'm formally known as the queen of validation, right? I remember growing up and always trying to do things that would validate me in the eyes of my parents. And then that came to wanting to be validated by my peers, wanting to be validated by my friends. And then in school, it's you want to be validated by your professors, by someone in a position of authority or someone that you value in your life. And I think what all of this has taught me is that it's so much more important and valuable to seek validation from yourself first. And I think that was the piece that I was missing, right? I was feeling lonely and separated and isolated because of the things that I was going through. And I think that kind of just sent me down a spiral because, again, validation, I wasn't used to getting validation from myself. I was used to getting it only from other people. And when other people aren't around, you only have you. And I think I was forced to feel those feelings, have that experience, and forced to grow from it so that things internally could be rearranged, could be rewired, right? And it was like God was trying to show me something. God was trying to show me that you should be validating you. And I should be seeking validation from God first and not from people, right? I should be seeking to do His will first and not the will of others, not just suggestions that people threw at me, not just things that, oh, you should do that, you should do that, you should do that. No, right? Because sometimes people want things for you just because, right? But I think ultimately you should be submitting and pursuing things that God is calling you to do and that God has placed on your heart and on your mind. So again, that's my new reality now, is seeking validation from God first and from myself first, as opposed to trying to gain it from all of these other people and all of these other sources. So now that I'm out of grad school, I'm graduated, I'm done with that experience, I have moved back home, I am, working day in and day out at my job. I've got a job now, which I used to not have a job. And just really, I'm really cherishing how much I can slow down and take things day by day, one thing at a time. Grad school is like so fast paced when you think about it. It's like so much information, so many tests, quizzes, and exams in the span of 2 years. You're taking like 50, 60 units in 2 years. It's crazy, but now I get to refocus, recenter, ground myself, and plan and execute, but at a pace that's more sustainable and a pace that is more healthy, I would say. And like I said earlier, I do believe that God put me in that season of isolation for a specific reason. And I feel like I'm in another season of isolation, but it's a different type of isolation, and I think that's why I'm calling it my healing era more than isolation, because now with the slower pace that I'm at, I really get to just hone in on the things that I've been trying to work on, the things that forming new habits, new ways of moving through the world, new behaviors that make me feel good and better about myself, healthier about myself, better about my health, I should say, not healthier. And I love that. And it's not to the point where I'm like not talking to people, not interacting with people, but I think it's just I have a certain level of focus and self-awareness that I've never had before. And it's not the kind of self-awareness where like you're self-conscious, right? This is like a healthier version of that, I guess, where it's like you get to stop, slow down, and consider your actions. Like actually think about what you're about to do before you do it. I don't know how many people actually truly do that. How many people process what they're about to say before they just say it, right? I think that might be a lost art. I'm not sure, but that's all a part of how I plan to become the person that I'm becoming and the person that God has called me to be in this life for others, for myself, and for His will. And I have so much more control now, which obviously as a Virgo, I love. I get to control my time, my energy, my focus, my intention on the things and the people and the relationships and the projects that really matter to me. And I think after having focused on one goal so intensely for so long, which was like education and getting my master's degree, and now that I've done that and I've accomplished that, I mean, that feels amazing, that feels good, and I'm so proud of myself, but it's like it feels so much more precious to me, the time and the focus that I have to be about me, be about God, and be about all the people that He's brought my way, all the people that He has graced me to encounter, I guess. But we're at Starbucks now.
Hummingbirds. See the hummingbird?
Oh,
It went around the other way. You see it?
yeah. Oh, it is so cute. It's getting it. I can't get over how like hummingbirds, their wings flap so fast. It's like how you do that? How you have that much energy? It's gone. So I plan to use my time wisely. I plan to plan fun things, more fun things, and actually enjoy them, and not just enjoy things while I'm in the moment, but also enjoy the times where I'm just by myself, right? I went on solo dates, and it's just everything is so much more enjoyable now. I feel like before, when I was like suffering and growing and going through it, I would enjoy an event for that time period, and then I would go back home and just be like sad, or like depressed or anxious or whatever it was. I would go to a tailgate and then come back to my apartment and just be sad, and I feel like I'm learning about that pattern. I'm learning about why I'm like that, why I have a tendency to feel like I am alone, even though I'm like, I just had a birthday party, and then it's one of those things where like everybody leaves and you're like, dang, like y'all just gonna leave? Y'all just gonna up and leave? But it's like I'm learning about myself by like, and not antagonizing, but like interrogating those feelings and those thoughts. And it's like, well, why do people leaving the event that you planned, that they still came to and were happy to be at and had a lot of fun at, why does them leaving all of a sudden make you feel like they're gone, right? Why does that make you feel like you can't talk to them or you can't hang out with them? Like what is triggering that that line of logic, right? Where is it even coming from? So I'm loving the slow life, okay? And like I'm a work from home girly, like what?
Where the Bell Beaters at?
Well, they have poppies. They don't have any olipopes though. They don't have any Ollipops. I guess some stores carry one or the other, maybe.
Are they always in the refrigerated section?
Ollipops, yeah.
All the
That's where they.
time?
Yeah, that's where they are at Target. They're in the refrigerated section at
But
Target.
if they sell them in the
Ooh,
in the
fudge.
case,
You don't need nothing else? We really need some water, but I'll get it I'll get it tomorrow.
Dad, what are you gonna order?
Let me get a strawberry frap.
Mom, what are you gonna order?
the chocolate mint cream frap.
I'm getting a strawberry frap.
You already said that.
Oh, okay. Oh boy, she got a new toy. She had to play with a new toy in Ralph's.
Yeah. Where'd Mom go?
She went to look for Belvitas.
Oh, she didn't find him? I'm just so grateful, so blessed, so excited about my future and what's to come, and excited that, like, my healing era she's on her way out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna enter my boss era. I'm gonna enter my confidence era. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna enter my looking like a baddie era. You know what I'm saying? Accomplishing all her goals era. So I just wanted to give y'all the rundown of my healing era, my healing journey, what all of it was like, and my thoughts on it as I feel like I'm exiting that era. I think a lot of my content on Instagram too has been like just reflection on that time period of my life. It's not so much that like I'm going through the healing right now, but I think I'm like finalizing the processing and the reflecting that was happening about it, because it's very difficult for me to process what's happening in the moment and like be present. So I'm trying to be more present, but as far as like processing and like understanding something's impact on me, I'm still going through that. And it was such a big, hefty thing. Like, I was just the most depressed I've ever been in my entire life during that time. I felt them so isolated, so abandoned, so lonely, even though I was like around people, even though I had people that cared about me. You know what I'm saying? Even though I would like spend the weekend at my parents' house at least once a month, like, and I still was having these super heavy, huge, intense feelings. I think God was just bringing them to the surface, pulling things up that it was like, okay, you got to deal with this. Like, you got to figure this out, And one thing to remember that I want you guys to take away from this, if you take nothing else from this video, what I want y'all to take away, hold on. If you don't take anything else from this video, what I want y'all to take away is that feelings are not facts. Just because you feel a way, yes, it means something. Yes, it's valid. Yes, it should be embraced and reflected upon. But just because you feel that way doesn't mean it's an accurate reflection of what is actually happening in your life and of what's actually going on, right? So just because, and I relate to myself, just because I was feeling abandoned and isolated and lonely doesn't mean that I wasn't. Okay. And I mean, there were moments where it was true, like I was just alone in my apartment, but there were other moments where it was absolutely not true. And those are the moments that I plan to, like, moving forward, I was like, I need to remember those times. I need to reflect and remember and bring those to the forefront of my mind so that I don't forget and feel, and then that forgetfulness starts to trigger that cascade of emotions when in reality it just is not true, and it is just the enemy, if you will, trying to trying to get you down, trying to get you distracted from your purpose and your plans. So I hope this helps you guys wherever you are at in your own healing era, in your own healing journey. And thank you so much for listening to mine. I appreciate all the support I've had this far on this channel. I have been posting healthcare administration, college and career content. But I plan to expand to other things as well if I can find the time to actually record and edit and post those kinds of videos. But stay tuned. Go ahead and like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to share with a friend who might need to hear someone else's journey, might need to hear that it does get better, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that there is another side to feeling bad feelings and having to process them and go through all of those things. So again, thank you guys for listening, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.